Hey, I'm Mia.
And I'm Nhu, and this is the Midway to More podcast. This podcast is for women in midlife navigating their next chapter.
Come sit with us.
Welcome.
Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. We are in this funny place, and why are we here today? How did
Well,
we
I,
get here?
yeah, how and why did we get here? I think the funny part is if we can roll it back a little bit, it makes me think about one of the first times that the two of us kind of went out and had brunch or something. I can still remember that little place in Southeast Portland off of Division, and we were eating, and you had said to me, "Oh my gosh, just you wait. You're going to go through that midlife crisis."
Oh,
And I'm
right. I
thinking,
remember. Yep. Yep. And I remember
and
your
I'm like,
response.
"Do you?" Because I
Yeah.
was thinking, what? No, that's for like old white guys. They all go
Because
through the midlife.
I think I'm going through a midlife crisis. And you're like,
Yes.
really? I thought, and then what was your response?
Yeah, I said, I think that's for old white guys.
Right.
And you're like, no,
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 no.
just you wait. And I thought, oh, okay. I have a few, I don't know when and where and what time the crisis starts.
Right.
Um, but I would have to say to you that, yeah, I was kind of surprised and taken back at just I don't know, the reality of getting older.
Right.
After you turn 50, I was just like, whoa, really?
Yeah. So many changes. And then so I'm a little beyond you in years, a few years old.
Little. Hmm.
And yeah, it's just the life changes, the body changes hormonally, all the things. And they all seem to just kind of hit you like a Mack truck. At least
Yeah.
that's how they work for me.
Yeah, and you know
So,
what I've appreciated about our friendship, is that when we get the chance to talk, and we don't talk often,
right.
it's always just so affirming and free and natural and open and honest. And I just appreciate that so much. And so I think that's kind
Yeah.
of where this all started. I
Hmm.
mean, I can remember the two of us sitting again in another different coffee shop, talking and just cracking up. And we said to ourselves, do you remember what we said to ourselves?
You're like,
Let's
we
do
should
this.
start
Let's
a
do a
podcast.
podcast.
Jokingly. And we're like, well, shoot, man,
Jokingly.
these are jokingly. And then as we started talking more, we're like,
Yeah,
wait, I know so many of my friends are going through the same thing that are my age. And everybody's just
right.
talking about all the life changes and body changes and all the things. So that's how we got here, right? To start.
Yeah.
And then we said, wait, maybe we should start a podcast about this stuff.
Yeah. And I think if anything, it was more for our own growth and edification and trying.
Yes.
And I think what I've also appreciated is that, the things that the two of us usually talk about is family,
Mhm.
life, and then really our businesses, right? And so you're
Right.
an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, and I think that that
Hmm.
really brings a lot of connection. And as women, as people of color, I'm just excited
Hmm.
to spend more time with you, intentional time to talk about these
Intentional.
things. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited. And I think you just need a safe space
Mm-hmm.
to be able to flesh this stuff out. And I know that, I'm still young at heart. Like in my head, I'm
Mm-hmm.
still 35. Now the body is disagreeing. It's like, girl, no, no, nope, nope, no, you're not. Let's get into reality. And that reality starts to hit you.
Mm,
But, as far as us talking about this stuff on our podcast, I just feel like, so I say all that to say in my head, I'm a younger spirit, right? And I'm
mm,
drawn to things, and now I'm drawn to things like just say it's just an event, a cool event to go to.
yeah.
Like, I don't want to go because everybody's 30, And so to have a place to talk to other people, talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
um, about all these things that my real age,
Mm,
that we're going through at this stage of life. And so I just think it's important. And we just decided, you know what, let's just do it for
Yeah.
fun and just
Yeah.
think about this stuff. So
Yeah. I
that
appreciate
is
that
why
so
we're here.
much. Yeah, for sure. I think for me, why it was so enticing was because I find it can be really lonely sometimes as somebody who works as a consultant. And when I started my
Yes.
own business, I didn't have a team around me anymore. I had worked
Mhm.
for a number of years in government, nearly 20 years in government, and had a team and all of that, which was fine and good. And then I went and started working for myself, and then I didn't have anybody to bounce ideas off of.
Oh, right. Yep.
Um, and I found that it got really lonely for me. And I didn't even recognize the loneliness until I would meet up with you for coffee. Um, and we would spend a long time sitting in that coffee shop, sipping on the matcha.
Yeah, right. Oh, yes. On
And I was
one
like,
drink
what is
forever.
this? Is this because I lack something? No, it's because I really crave that um, teamwork, that connection.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times as women, for me, my girlfriends who work or raise their families, they are lonely as
Yeah.
well. Sometimes it's just a hard go at it, and I don't think it's talked about enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think same for me. So I'm an entrepreneur, as you mentioned, and I've been behind a laptop for 5 years straight. And so I was a stay-at-home mom for many
Mm-hmm.
years. And then I worked in real estate, but it was
Mm-hmm.
still work from home, right? And you would go in for meetings. So a
Right.
lot of times at home in my office behind a laptop alone. And then, I started a business, a digital product business, and again, behind a laptop. So the
Mm-hmm.
loneliness. And then I was living in a city
Mm-hmm.
where I didn't have family. And so
Mm-hmm.
just,
Yeah.
a lot of women, and like you said, even the ones that work, I have friends who work really hard, work corporate jobs, and
Mm-hmm.
but they work so hard, they go home and they don't connect a lot on the off time with other people. So just a
Right.
lot of loneliness kind of at our age when kids are gone, kids are out of the house or slowly leaving the house. And so, yeah, and if you're a solopreneur, then that just adds a whole different layer on top.
Right. Right. I
Yeah.
also, that makes me think a lot about how, so I was doom scrolling early this morning. Okay, my first
Oh,
confession
sure.
of the morning. I was
Oh yeah,
very
mine too.
early.
Mine is
I,
really late night is the best time. Love it.
so I was doom scrolling, true confessions. Um, and I came across this video about this actress, and she was saying how um I guess she's a little bit more well known now. I don't watch a lot of, well, I shouldn't say I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't need to go into that confession right now, but
Okay.
she was
One
saying
confession
how
at a
she
time.
she was an older gal who got into the film industry, I guess, and one of her inspirations is LL Cool J, right? And I
Okay.
thought that was interesting. I was like, okay, she was a white middle-aged lady, but she said that she heard LL Cool J say something that was really inspiring. And she said that he said, dreams don't have time, deadlines. Dreams don't have deadlines or something
Deadline.
like that along
Mm,
that line.
mhm.
Sorry, LL Cool J, if you ever hear this podcast,
Right.
I don't mean to misquote you, but it really inspired her because she was older. She had been doing the acting thing for a really long time. And she said, when he said dreams don't have deadlines, she was just instantly reminded that, hey, I'm not on anybody's time frame. I'm just on my own and I can do it. And I
Right.
I heard that this morning and I was like, I think it was almost something that I needed to hear because
Yes.
while I have a lot of things that I want to do, and people might say, "Oh, you started this business and you're doing a lot of side hustles. You have side hustles with your family, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, but I have a lot of dreams unfulfilled,
Right.
right?"
Absolutely.
So I don't know what you think about
Yeah.
that.
I
Just that.
think that.
Dreams
You
don't
know,
have deadlines.
they don't have deadlines because I think about there's so many famous people and stories of people that started really
Mm-hmm.
late. And one story I do remember is Bonnie Raitt. I think she won her first Grammy. She was like 40
I love
something.
her.
Yeah, and then
Oh yeah.
I think even Colonel Sanders started really, really late. Like started that like in his 60s or something. So, I have
Mm-hmm.
hope, but I will say, with all the happy, happy, joy, joy, and positive thinking, which I agree with, you do beat yourself up sometimes. At least I do.
Mm.
I'm like, gosh, like you are 50 something, right? Um,
Yes,
and it's
yes.
like,
The 50
why?
somethings.
Yeah, and it's like, gosh, you're not 25,
Mm.
why are you starting this now? But then, sometimes when you're supposed to do something, it's supposed to be at the right time. You're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think I won't say that I don't think about that, like think about my age. I think that's why we're here too, is like we are thinking about our age. And this
Mm.
is the point in our lives where we go, okay, I've done one half.
Mm.
Here's what I didn't like in this one half. Here's what I loved in the first half, but what am I going to do differently in the second half? And then you start to
Yeah.
prioritize all those things you want. What are you looking for? What do you want to achieve? And then you do have to fight those voices of like, man,
Mm-hmm.
but you're old, and
Mm.
the opinions of others. And so I think, that's another episode, but
Mm. Indeed.
yeah, you
Indeed.
do have to think about like, okay, where am I in this part of my journey and what do I want to do? And I do agree, no deadlines. Anything can happen at any time because I still have hopes and dreams and things I haven't achieved that I do
Mm.
believe I can achieve them. So,
Right. Right.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
noticed you mentioned it's so interesting, hustle. Um, and so now in my business, in my language, I've taken out the word hustle actually,
Oh, okay.
because
Tell me more.
I see a lot of people are like, oh, we're the trend now is, which I think is a good trend.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to get away from hustle culture.
Mm. Mm.
So in my business, I'm a small business coach and I teach aspiring entrepreneurs how to start a business from idea to launch. And through
Mm-hmm.
digital products and
Mm-hmm.
ebooks and courses, yada, yada, yada. So there's a lot of copy that I have to write. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had a lot of side hustle language in my
Mm.
copy. And so, America is all hustle culture, work hard. And I
Mm.
think,
Mm. Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
people are wanting to get away from that rat race. I know I am. And that's another thing
Mm.
with aging, right? Like tired. I want to get away from
Yeah.
hustle, hustle, rat race, try to, do everything constantly and constantly work, 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 work. But now, especially with the advancement of technology, everybody's trying to work smarter and not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, because that hustle mentality, I mean, I think it's good, right? We need to have get up and go.
Yeah.
We need to persevere. We do need to work hard. Like, I don't think you're ever going to get away from hard work. Um,
Yeah.
but it's to the degree you take it. So I'm trying
Yeah.
to not as much be in hustle
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to efficiency and working
Mm.
harder and not harder. So that's where
Oh,
I
thank you for that nugget.
am.
Dang. No, seriously. I think that I love that. And I go back to this hustle mentality, right? And where I get it from,
Oh, yes.
And for me, I really feel like it's a cultural piece. So I don't know if you know, but my family came over um because of the end of the Vietnam War, right? And so
Mhm.
my family were refugees and I was on the boat and the whole thing. And so I watched my
Wow.
parents kind of work
Hard.
hard, and I
Mhm.
don't think that's a um, unfamiliar concept to people working hard, but I saw them kind of not
And I think
only
it's
work
different
their,
with immigrant culture. Absolutely.
yeah,
It's different.
there's that piece where I just saw them work all the time. So I have this really strong work ethic. to
Hmm.
my detriment. So what you're saying to me, the piece on around changing that mindset of hustling, 100%. Because I often say every day I'm hustling, right? And yet I have to kind of pull it back a little bit for my own health, for the health of my family. But I don't know how to do that really well,
And what
and I
does
don't
it
know
do?
if it's my age either.
And what does it do though? What do you think the benefit of pulling back is?
I think pulling back on, I try not to say yes to everything.
Hmm.
Um, and yet my hustling mentality, I think, well, I shouldn't say no,
Yeah.
because it's an
Turn
opportunity.
anything down.
And
Hmm.
I'm down for anything, right? And yet I have been trying to be more careful and thoughtful. Intention is my word for the year.
Okay.
Um, I'm trying to be more intentional with how I spend my time, who I spend my time with, um, why I spend my time doing it, because I then become so that it's not just another thing, right? And I think again, going back to just the word hustle itself, it means I got to keep moving. But I feel like I can keep moving more intentionally, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's not always about work. And so
Mhm.
but I do love work. I enjoy
Yeah.
working. I enjoy working more now than ever, honestly. So
Oh, and why more now, do you think?
I think, I often tease that I worked in government for a really long time, so I'm a recovering state employee,
Oh,
and that kind of sucked out of a lot for me. I was raising my family at that time. I did that for 18 years, and now as a consultant and as an instructor, I get to kind of pick and choose. I'm really fortunate. I'm really privileged to pick and choose what I take on. And so
oh
I
yeah.
take on the things that I want to,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So not everybody gets to do that.
No.
And so,
Oh,
yeah.
that's good. Yeah, I think that culture, I completely understand. I hear that often from children of immigrants because they
Hmm.
watch their family sacrifice or work
Yeah.
really hard for them to have a better life. And so it's like, that's what you're supposed to do. And I know for me, as being a part of the African American culture,
Mm,
we always had to work hard. So we
right.
always had to be twice as good as the next person.
Hmm.
We always know that there are invisible barriers most of the time, maybe
Hmm.
not all the time, but most of the time for us. So we have to show up and be better. And then,
Yeah.
Black women are some of the most educated
Right.
groups in the country. And so education's really important. And you just, you work hard and that's where you get to where you want to go. But what I do see in the generations now, you know, my parents and then in my generation growing up, it's like, oh, well, you, this middle class African American
Mm,
existence, like, well, you have to go to college and you get a good job and you work for
hmm.
30 years and you retire and blah, blah, blah. And now, and so the hustle culture, yeah, that makes sense for us, right? But now
Hmm.
this younger generation, and I love it. I just love watching them because they're
Yeah.
so solid in who they are. And
Hmm.
now they're like, oh, well, they don't necessarily believe in really working super hard. Some of them, I mean, but there are some that seems to be the consensus like, no, I'm supposed to have this soft life. And
The
that's what I'm
soft life.
wanting. I'm wanting the soft girl, soft
Mm,
era at this point, right? After
mm.
3 kids and
Yeah, yeah.
working intermittently. But yeah, so the hustle, I'm down with the non-hustle culture. So I don't know if it's just my age or if it's just I'm aligning with this younger generation. And I think it's a bit of both. So,
Hmm.
but you still have to work hard. It doesn't matter, if you're going to be successful, it's going to take time, investment, and working hard. Now,
Yeah.
overworking yourself is the issue. Like, right? Like overworking
Yeah.
yourself when you don't need to.
Mm,
and then not doing enough work and expecting this wonderful outcome. So
mm,
it's
mm.
balance.
Ugh,
Balance,
balance, balance, balance. Yeah.
balance,
Mm,
because you don't want to get burnt out, you know?
mm-hmm,
And I think a lot of women, I mean, would you say at our age
mm-hmm.
that a lot of women, you get to this point in life and you're just tired, you just burn out?
Yeah, I
I am. That's where I am.
yeah.
I'm a little burnt out.
I think one of the things that we had talked about was, and I quote, I don't want to lose another 10 years, right? And it's like a 10 years of what? Is it the
Yeah,
burnout
yeah.
of work? Is it the burnout of raising a family? Because it's real and it's hard and
Mhm.
it's it makes us who we are. What
Mhm.
was the question again?
Just about
Burnout.
just burnout. Like, do you feel that like do you feel burnout or no? Because your work ethics, you're fine where you are. Do you feel burnout from this
Oh,
first half of life?
oh, that's a good question. Um, I would have to say there were times when I was burnt out of the teams that I was working with,
Hmm.
um, the work itself, some of it wasn't as meaningful as other work, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me as an individual, I've always put a lot of emphasis on, that my work had meaning.
Hmm.
And while that sounds cheesy, I really do believe that I wanted to kind of help people in the world and my work should reflect that. And then I thought, well, there's other ways to do that, not just with your career, right? But we spend so much time in our careers. Um, but burnout for me probably happened, I would say maybe 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And I started my consulting business in 2019. So just before then, for a few years at work, it was feeling kind of like, okay, I needed something else. I had been with the agency for 18 years, that's a grown adult, 18, right? Supposedly. And so, yeah, I was kind of done. I was kind of tired, but
Yeah.
definitely tired at that point. And right now, I feel a sense of freedom a little bit as I've gotten older. Um, but I feel like I feel like I still have a lot of work to do. Like retirement, I have friends who are going into retirement, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how are you getting there so early? You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking I'm a little jealous, you know?
Right. I know. That's the thing. So with regard to burnout, I'm tired of trying to figure it out still at my
Mm,
age. Like, so we have these life stages and career changes
right.
um and then my story, I was just a stay-at-home mom for so long and I always like did things on the side, but
Mm-hmm.
now I'm at this stage where I'm paying for that. And so that's kind of a
Mm,
hard pill to swallow. Like when you're
mm,
talking about people who are retiring, right? And so
mm.
it's like, gosh, if I would have just worked a job for 30 years, I would be sitting pretty and retiring right now. But then I'm a creative. And
Yeah.
so I was never drawn to corporate ever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did it, but it just was not my thing. I'm definitely a creative at heart. And so but now, there's the consequences. So as of today, I'm burnt out on trying to figure this thing out for my second half, like
Yeah.
designing my second half, right?
Mm.
Um, and entrepreneurship, when things don't go as planned, it's like, okay, now what is my next move? And so where others are retiring and going to just garden in their backyard. I'm like, oh, which is love. I love that for them, but man, it's hard, to be still trying to like, which way do I go at post 50,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
Indeed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot with that comes with this second half.
Mm.
So
maybe that's for another day for our
Yeah.
conversation. It's been
For
lovely talking with you. I think that there's just so much more that we're going to
so
be
much
able to
more
cover
that we're
in
going
the
to be
weeks
talking
to
about.
come. Yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I know that one of the things that you and I had talked about is we enjoy the time we have with our friends and that those little pick-me-ups or
Yes.
times just zoom on by. And so I just appreciate the time that we can zoom on
Yeah.
by with each other.
Oh, absolutely. And that we can just talk, and we're in similar life stages. So we just wanted to come on and talk about that and
Hmm.
share how we're feeling. And because we know there's so many people out there dealing with the same stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So the next, until the next time and the next topic, because there's so many
Great.
topics.
I know. Thanks, Mia. Have a great day.
Hey, you too. Bye.
Bye.